for this matter at the same time. Thank you.
Green.
Thank you very much indeed, Sir Roger. It's a pleasure to participate on this debate under your chairmanship, and may I congratulate my honourable friend, the member for Bristol North West, in securing it. Unlike his speech, mine will be neither as lengthy nor as expert. My interest in this matter arises from the issue in my constituency last year, when a report in the Manchester Evening News revealed that the Into Trafford Centre in my constituency had been working with Greater Manchester Police to use live facial recognition technology. This was something that I had not been made aware of previously. As far as I know, none of my constituents or members of the public knew of this use of technology. And following that report in the Manchester Evening News, in fact, both Into Trafford Centre and Greater Manchester Police suspended the pilot. Now, like my colleagues, I suspect that many of our constituents would support the use of this and other technologies to prevent crime, to keep us safe, to catch criminals, or to trace missing and vulnerable people, something that I understand the British Transport Police are considering. But as we've heard, its use does raise a number of different issues pointed out by my honourable friend, some of which I myself have discussed directly with both local police in Greater Manchester and indeed at national level. And I'm very grateful to police officers who've spoken to me for their openness in those discussions. It's very clear that the police themselves feel that there is a much pressing need for a national framework which will enable effective use of this technology, and for now they don't feel that they have that. From my perspective, and in the light of our experience in my constituency, I think that that framework will need to address decision-making, who takes a decision to make use of such technology in a particular context, oversight, and very importantly, accountability. How can such use be scrutinised, and how can the police and other state authorities be made accountable to the public? Because what we are seeing can constitute a very significant intrusion into the privacy of individual citizens who have no criminal or threatening record whatsoever and are merely going about their daily business. And so it's very important that any use of this technology in relation to the majority of citizens will be both appropriate and proportionate. Issues that concern me are, among others, the size and content of any watch list that might be constructed, particularly vis-à-vis the effectiveness of the size of that watch list. In the Manchester Evening Report, it was revealed that 30 million people per annum visit the Into Trafford Centre, an iconic destination in my constituency. But over that 6-month period during which the technology was being deployed, only one positive identification was made, which makes me question whether it was right to draw so many members of public into the ambit of this experiment for what seems to be a very low level of effectiveness. I think we also have to consider where it is being used. The police themselves have said to me that some events or venues will be more or less suitable. And also, I think, why it is being used and at whose initiative, at whose request such technology is being deployed. In the Trafford Centre, it was in fact the Into management themselves who had suggested to Greater Manchester Police that it should be used. Is it right that police priorities should be set by the wishes of private enterprises? And if that can be right, in some circumstances, that there can be a partnership in approach between the police and private entities, but if the private entity is drawing a disproportionate benefit from such activity, isn't it right that they should be paying for it? As, for example, football clubs pay for additional police protection at the time of football matches. We've heard, Sir Roger, about concerns about potential ethnic bias in the databases and technologies that are currently available, and I am told that what's on the market, as it were, at the moment, is better at matching North European and Southeast Asian males than it is at other ethnic categories. That relates to the countries in which the algorithms that have been used to underpin this technology have been developed. But what I think we can say from the point of view of the public, Sir Roger, is that if there is any ethnic disparity or perception of ethnic disparity in the way these technologies apply, then that is bound to sow public mistrust. It cannot be right that we're making use of technologies that do not treat all communities equally. I've mentioned my concerns about where decisions are taken within police and other public agencies. It's been made very clear by regulators that should be at the most senior strategic level and in the context, in my view, of an absolutely transparent national framework. And I also think we do have to think about mechanisms for accountability both to individual members of the public but also to the community that a police force serves overall. Finally, can I say, Sir Roger, that whilst we are not going to halt the speed and spread of technology, and I think we can expect more resources to go into this sort of technology in the future, there is a question about how we prioritise resources vis-à-vis effectiveness and public buy-in. And I think the static facial recognition technologies that have been used have excited much less contention and public concern. I think people can understand that the police hold a database of those who have previous convictions and criminal records, and that they will check where they've got someone who they're not able to identify against those records. That database itself is currently, I understand, in need of new investment, which it is not currently scheduled to receive. And I just ask the Minister whether that might be the first priority for investment in these facial recognition technologies, and if investment that is needed in the Police National Database could be brought forward. So, Sir Roger, I'm glad to have had the opportunity to have this matter debated in Parliament today. I would be misleading the House if I suggested that it was causing widespread concern among my constituents, but in fact, Sir Roger, it ought to. It ought to concern us all how it is being used and the context in which we are made aware of its use. That is not to say it should not be used, but in the absence of a clear legislative framework or regulatory framework for its use, I don't think it would be right for this House to be here today and not be asking those questions.